Alright, Gator fans, so in this video we're going to be talking about the prospect of the Power 4 teams in the Sunshine State heading into 2026. And if the Florida Gators secretly in the second best position in the state as compared to the other programs, Florida State, UCF. So the 2025 season for the Florida Gators came to a merciful yet enjoyable end with a dominant performance in a 40-21 beatdown over hated rival Florida State. Jaden Ball had a tremendous season, finishing the year with over 1,000 yards, being the first Gator running back to do so since Calvin Taylor in 2015. He also broke UF's sophomore record for rushing yards in a season. In that game for Florida State, Jaden Ball ran for over 250 yards. I think it was like 38 carries, 266 yards, and a couple of touchdowns. And, of course, as a UF fan, beating the Seminoles is always a fantastic way to end the season. Sadly, however, it was one of the very few highlights of the entire year for Florida. Florida, lost to South Florida, lost to LSU, lost to Miami, had a heartbreaking collapse against Georgia, embarrassed by Kentucky and Tennessee. So it was all around a bad year for Florida. Billy Napier was fired mid-season after the Mississippi State game. And then now Florida's heading into 2026 with the new head coach, John Summerall, out of Tulane, who's going to be on the road at Ole Miss to play in the college football playoff in the first round. He's already announced a couple of hires on the coordinator-wise. Technically, one hire has been officially announced, and the other one is expected to be announced soon. Offense coordinator Buster Faulkner is coming from Georgia Tech to be the offensive coordinator in Florida, and he's expected to hire Brad White as defensive coordinator out of Kentucky. So while UF is going to be heading into the new season with a new coach, there is skepticism with Florida fans because Florida went down this road already with hiring a group of 5 head coach out of the state of Louisiana, except this time instead of Billy Napier with the Lafayette Raging Cajuns, they go with the Tulane Green Wave John Summerall, who's coming off of an American Conference title, and he will be coaching Tulane throughout the playoffs until the season is finished. And now with Florida heading into the season with the storylines that they have, John Summerall, DJ Lagway, the new hires, and will there be some new enthusiasm with the Gator fan base? That now begs the question, how do they stack up with the rest of the team, with the rest of the Power 4 programs in the state? Obviously, Miami is in the catbird seat in the state-wise, meaning that they're coming off a playoff appearance. They're going to play on the road at Texas A&M over a week from now in the first round. Mario Cristobal, 4 years at Miami, and each year you could say that Miami under him has progressed further and further. 5-7, didn't make a bowl game year 1. 7-6, lost in their bowl game year 2. Year 3, a 10-3 record, didn't make the ACC title game, didn't make the college football playoff. But you could see that there was a progression there. This year, 10-2 record again, missed the ACC title game again. This time, made a college football playoff berth. We'll see how long they last in there. But obviously, the Hurricanes are in the top tier spot in the state. They're obviously the number 1 program in the state right now, as their other three counterparts state-wise are trying to catch up. Their rivals, Florida and Florida State, missing a bowl game. UCF also missing a bowl game. So Miami right now is clearly the top program in the state right here at this moment. I hate the Hurricanes, but it's a fact. So we just have to acknowledge it. Now, while Mario Cristobal has obviously progressed the Hurricanes further and further, you have to wonder as a Hurricane fan, is he finally going to get over that hump and stop getting in his own way with these boneheaded losses to teams that he, quite frankly, probably shouldn't be losing to, because every single time things start to get good, he has a loss that throws off his season, losing 2 of his final 3 games after starting off 10-0 to miss out on the playoffs in 2024, barely making the playoffs this year because of the losses to SMU and Louisville, in which the ACC was I think probably the worst year the ACC has had in quite some time, when it looked like that was a grand opportunity for you to get in the conference title game and win it. So that way you could have potentially hosted a playoff game at Hard Rock instead of having to go on the road at A&M, and you could have potentially have gotten somebody else. Maybe you could have potentially have gotten one of the Group of 5 schools in James Madison or Tulane, or you could have gotten Oklahoma or Alabama. So we don't, but going up against Texas A&M, especially on the road, I think is a tougher than what the other scenarios that I just named. As far as that's concerned, we'll see where the Hurricanes end the season, but certainly whether they win the national championship or their first round exit, they are certainly ahead of the other three in the Sunshine State. So that's where Miami is at. In terms of Florida State, I think they're honestly, you could argue that maybe that they're battling UCF for that last spot, considering that it's more than likely that Mike Norvell is going to get fired next year. Mike Norvell has had 4 losing records in 6 years at Florida State, 3-6, 5-7, and then it seemed like he found his footing, going 10-3 and 13-1, winning the ACC and just barely missing the playoffs that year. But then he didn't just fall from cloud 9 back down to earth. He fell maybe even through the earth. He went from losing 3 regular season games in 2022 and 2023 to losing 17 games in 2 years, going 2-10, which is the worst record in FSU, or at least modern FSU history, since the early 70s. And then you follow up this year 5-7, missing a bowl game, and over these last 2 years, 17 losses. You have not won any football game outside of Doak Campbell Stadium. He's 0-11 in his last football games outside Doak Campbell Stadium, if you include the Georgia Tech game in Ireland at the start of the 2024 season, and then the previous game against Georgia in the Orange Bowl. So he's lost 11 straight games outside of Doak Campbell Stadium, 0 wins in true road games, and he's now he also went a full calendar year without winning an ACC game, which at Florida State is unacceptable. And he also went 0-6 these last 2 seasons against all 3 of Florida State's top rivals, Miami, Florida, and their other big rival, Clemson. So I think he needs to win 9 games next year to even warrant a consideration to coming back in 2027. If he goes, I don't even think 8-4 is good enough. I think if he would have went 8-4 this year, I think Florida State fans would have felt much better. But to go 5-7 after you just went 2-10, when you had and you miss a bowl game, when you were 3-0 at the start of the year. In college football, you only need 6 wins to become bowl eligible. So you win your first 3 games and you still miss a bowl game. You go 3-0 and you still miss out. I think he needs to go 9-3 next year to even think about coming back. But I don't think that's likely. And you can be assured that with the way that college football powerhouses are, Power 4 programs are firing their head coaches, in mid-season quicker than ever before, as opposed to potentially giving their coach an opportunity to finish the season. I don't think he's going to have that luxury next year. And then that brings us finally to UCF. Now, while that's a plane above that you hear, while with UCF, some UCF fans argue that they're going to be in a better spot heading into 2026 than Florida and Florida State is. Maybe you could argue with Florida State, but maybe I'm saying this out of bias because I'm a Gators fan. I don't see how they can come into the 2026 season with a better position than Florida. Yeah, Florida's hiring a new head coach, but your current head coach, Scott Frost, if you look, I'm going to pull up his record while I'm talking here. I think he has 1 winning season in his entire coaching tenure, which is about 7 full seasons. I'm pulling up his record right now I want to make sure I'm accurate here. Head coaching record, there you go. 2016, 6-7, 2017, 13-0, 2018, well, the first 2 years was the first time he was at UCF, and then the rest, these next 4 seasons were at Nebraska. I'm not going to include 2022 because he got fired that year. 2018, at Nebraska 4-8, 2019 Nebraska 5-7, 2020 3-5, 2021 3-9, and then he got fired at Nebraska the following year. So, and then this past year with UCF 5-7, 2-7, and if you look at his victories, it was against 3 of his 5 victories were against teams with terrible records. North Carolina 4-8, West Virginia, I think they were 4-8 as well, and Oklahoma State, who finished the year, I think they were 1-11, maybe 2-10. I'm not quite sure, but they didn't win more than 3 games. I know that. I'm positive of. So, excuse me. I don't see how UCF fans can say that they're in a better position than Florida and Florida State. They have a head coach with 1 winning record in 7 full seasons as a head coach. 1 winning record in 7 seasons. I'd rather take my chances with John Summerall at UF than Scott Frost at UCF. 1 winning record in 7 seasons. I don't know where they get this idea from. Now, granted, in today's college football, you don't necessarily have to be a powerhouse to win quickly. With the transfer portal and NIL, you can flip a program around within a couple of years and compete. Look at Indiana with Kurt Signetti. Look at Texas Tech. They've come out of nowhere under Joey McGuire. You don't have to be a powerhouse in one of the blue bloods in college football to win anymore. It's kind of become almost college basketball like, where now any program out of nowhere can now, have their Cinderella story and come out and compete immediately. So, though, if I had to rank which team I think is in the best position, if you twisted my arm behind my back, I would probably say Miami, and then Florida at number 2, and then Florida State and UCF at number 3, and then Florida State 4. And the reason why I put UCF at 3 instead of Florida State at 3 is that like I said, I think Mark Norvell's going to get fired next year. I think Florida State's doing that to try to lower his buyout, so that way firing him could be an easier option. And with UCF, they seem to be really committed to Scott Frost, and they really want to give him an opportunity to see if he can get his career back on track. So I think they're going to be way more patient with him. And with Florida, it's going to be year 1. They're not going to fire unless John Summerall goes 1-11, which I don't see that happening. I don't think he's going to get fired after 1 season at Florida, especially under Scott Frost, who has been known to who just gave Billy Napier 4 years, which he probably didn't deserve. I think he's going to give John Summerall the benefit of the doubt. So that's really it, and that's just my thoughts on things.